Thank you for tuning in to episode 9 of Atomic Talks. This one is a little bit different than usual, and it's a lot of fun. I'm joined by my good friend and wrestling legend Manny, also known as Manny Lee or Hector G. For about the first 15 minutes, we sit down with Hector G. Rodriguez, Manny's hilarious Cholo wrestling persona, and after that, we switched over to Manny Lee, which is his more serious side. A little heads up, I accidentally recorded the second half of this in slow motion, so unfortunately, most of the footage was lost. I apologize for that. It's definitely a bummer, but I still think the part we got was worth sharing, so let's get into it. As always, if you enjoy this episode, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Welcome back to another episode of Atomic Talks. Today I'm here with my good friend Hector. I was supposed to have another person here for this podcast, but he hasn't shown up yet.
Whoa, hold on, my friend. Another person? You scheduled me with another person? You do know who I am, right? You just said your friend Hector, but you scheduled me with somebody else.
Yeah, I definitely didn't mean any disrespect by that, Hector. It was just that he's also a wrestling fan and also does wrestling himself, so I figured he might be able to riff with you on, I guess, some subjects about wrestling.
You know, I would like to know when there's more people involved, okay? Because I have my beef with people out there, all right? There's people out there that try and put hits out on me, man. Because I'm just that badass Bato that people want to see. So we can forgive, but let's go start this interview, man. Let's go.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I won't let that happen again. Hopefully you'll show up here soon, too. So Hector, first things first, I have to ask, how'd you get into wrestling?
Well, first thing I got into wrestling, let's see, I grew up in the 505, bro. I grew up in the streets of Albuquerque. Rough streets, man. You had to defend, you had to be the best, you had to be the absolute toughest that you could be when you're out in the streets of the 505, bro. Wrestling came in because I had no other way out. I had to let my anger out some way, and instead of actually hurting people out there, I decided to take my talent in the ring and basically become the greatest professional wrestler that anybody has ever seen, because I am Hector G. Rodriguez. You know what the G stands for?
What does that stand for?
It stands for True Gangster.
True Gangster, okay.
True Gangster, man. And as you ask questions and as you go along with Hector, well, you understand why the True Gangster is in there, okay? So let's go. Let's ask your questions, man.
So before you got into wrestling, were you fighting a lot on the streets and stuff?
I was, man. I was over there. Everybody wanted a piece of the canal. Everybody wanted to try to take on the big guy. You know what they say? That the toughest vadio, man, you take down the big guy, you are the big guy. Some people took me down, but I always made sure I got back up, took them down, and took my spot back. I made it into my vadio and to my chante, bro. I've been one of the toughest guys that the 505 has seen, and I've took my talents out to Texas, to Amarillo. I've taken out to Mexico. I've been all over the place. Won championships in Mexico, defeated legends in New Mexico, and proven who Hector G is out in Amarillo. So I've done my fair share.
Yeah, okay. And actually, speaking of the Mexico one, that's one of your famous accolades, was winning the tag team championship over in Mexico.
That is correct.
How did you find yourself invited to that? Or?
Well, you see, man, me and my tag team partner, Pedro del Diablo, we got asked, hey, you guys need to go and get those Nueva Mexico Tag Team Championships, the New Mexico State Tag Team Championships. You see, they got lost. They were defeated, the champions back then, and they got taken to Mexico. Those titles got taken to Mexico, and we were told, you need to bring back the New Mexico State titles from Mexico. So that's what me and my partner did. We hopped on the plane. We flew out there to Mexico City. We wrestled. We beat their butts. Don't get me wrong. It was a challenge, man. It was an absolute challenge because we had to scrape and claw. At one point, I really thought that we weren't going to be able to secure it. But then my tag team partner, he bit my ass. He reminded me why we came out here, why we went out to Mexico. And we did what we did. We came back. We won our New Mexico State Tag Team Champions. And we proved why New Mexico is better than Mexico.
Nice. Okay. And then your partner, El Perro de Diablo, how'd you meet him?
Well, you see, man, there's a long backstory with El Perro de Diablo. He is something that not many people can fully understand. You see, he is an animal of his own rights, but he also only listens to one cholo, and that's me. I found him on the streets of Albuquerque one time. He destroyed everything. He looked at me. Vato versus Vato they knew real, you know. Everybody knew real. So I called him up. I was like, hey, Pedro, I need a partner. We have this thing going on in Mountain Air. and I do need a partner. He was like, I got you, bro. He's all, let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can get myself a bone out there, and we'll go. Sure enough, we went out there, we did our thing, and from there I was like, you know what, this guy, he's pretty good. So together, we created the tag team that you see now. I wish he could be here with me, but unfortunately, he's at the pound right now. Yeah, unfortunately, he got loose, did a couple things wrong, so I gotta go bail him out a little bit after this, so he'll be here next time, though, fool. But yeah, with him, we went to Mount Air, we did our thing, and we proved why we are still the champs. We defended our titles in October in Mountain Air, the 4th annual exhibition in the art of wrestling. It showed the best of the best. Blood, emotions, sweat, and tears, bro. That's only for the high class. That's only for the people who can show the artwork that we show. And me and my partner, Pedro de Diablo, we went out there and we defeated 2 of the most legendary wrestlers that are known. Hobo Man from Amarillo, Texas. Hobo Man is a very, very well-respected man in Amarillo. But you know what? He was in my barrio. He was in my territory. He was in New Mexico. That was my land. I had to show him why I take care of my body, why I defend it. But let's talk about his opponent. Let's talk about his partner. I'm sorry. His partner, Necro Butcher. Necro Butcher, man. If you ever have a chance to look him up, look up Necro Butcher. One of the kings of deathmatch wrestling. The guy is an absolute menace. He's a beast. But not enough to destroy Hector. Now I'll do praise where praise is due. Nectar beat the living hell out of me, bro. I had handprints. I had bruises for weeks. But still, me and Pedro, we went ahead and we did what we said we were going to do. We showed why we were the best tag team that New Mexico has. And it's why we were at the Mountain Air 4th Annual Exhibition in the Art of Wrestling. So I've had my fair share. And I still am champion to this day. I am sitting at about a year now as New Mexico State Tag Team Champion. And there's been no challengers that want to defend me, that want to challenge me, or my partner. So we're going to wait. The next time we for sure going to defend our titles, they're going to be in Mountain Air again. October. Exhibition. Annual 5th one. The 5th and last one. We're going to show them why we're the best of the best, man.
Nice. So October's probably going to be your next match?
For Hector G, yeah, for sure. October for sure. The date I don't know yet, man, but I'll give you that date, and you come show what the true Vato can do, man. You come show, and you can show your people why I'm the best.
Heck yeah. So in all your matches so far, Hector, what's been like one of the craziest things that's happened, I guess? You seen anything?
So one of my craziest matches that I had to say was in Amarillo, Texas with the promotion called OXW. It was Outcast Extreme Wrestling. And let me just say, it was extreme. I had a trilogy match with my biggest rival. I wanted the baddest of the baddest that Amarillo had. And I got a man named Cotton Candy. This little man. Tough, but little. It was an embarrassment for me. I was like, you guys want to give me this opponent? Oh, but they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing with Cotton Candy, okay? Because we went on to have this trilogy match. Okay, we were going to go out. He challenged me to Amarillo. He challenged me. Nobody challenges Hector G. Hector G does the challenging. Okay, because I'm that vato. I'm the one who lays out the challenges for them. So I showed him what was up. I went to his hometown of Mount Air after he was eating dinner or breakfast or lunch. I don't even know what it was. I didn't care. I went behind him and I hit him with my lucky prison sock. Yeah, my prison sock. I knocked him down to the ground and I showed him exactly who he was up against. So about 2-3 weeks later, we find ourselves in Amarillo in our very first match. I had my match against a man, and I was in a tag team match. And I don't even know how the outcome was. I'm pretty sure I lost. I lost because it was Cotton Candy's fault. He had a video vendetta. He popped up on the screen and he distracted me. Because of that distraction, I lost my first time.
Ooh.
And that made me upset, bro. Because you made Hector G look like a fool, and that is something you can't get by. Not at all, bro. Not at all. So the next match we went on, it was me and him. We went at it. We were throwing chigazos at each other, lefts and rights, back and forth. He got me the submission. The nastiest thing in the world, man. But you know what? Hector's always prepared for stuff like that. So he came out with his lucky prison sock, and he whacked the guy right in the face. The referee pinned 1, 2, 3 on me, but I was unconscious. But I was a smart one, and I made sure I was on top when that pin count went. I don't know what happened. All I know is at the end of that match, my hand was raised. But that wasn't it because he decided to do a blindside attack on me. So we decided to end this match because of my sock. He wanted to have what we called a soap on a pole match. So I couldn't use my sock. My sock was taken from me. 3 weeks later, it was hanging up on a pole in the middle of the ring. And the first one to grab that sock was the first one who was able to use it, eh? It was intense, man. First one, he ended up busting me open. I have a scar right above my eye. I was dripping blood. And when you see red on Hector G, that was it. That was the end of it. But you know what? That match ended with the true Vato on top, eh? He grabbed that sock, but as always, Hector G's ready. Hector G had his sock ready to go because he knew I'm not going to go into a knife fight with no knife, bro. You don't do that. You don't do that. You got to be smart. You got to play the game. Yeah, no rules, so why not come in prepared? That's what you have to do. So he jumped off. He thought he was cool. He tried to swing his thing. I ducked. Bam! Right there in the pinche face. Out cold. 1, 2, 3. Your winner, Hector G. Rodriguez. Never have I seen Cotton Candy again.
Wow. And how did he get the name Cotton Candy? What is that?
It's a question you got to ask him.
Okay.
He's wrestled around. He's very well known, especially in organizations like JCW, Juggalo Championship Wrestling. The guy is a beast. The guy is a legend. I tell you, when I first saw him, I underestimated him. Our first match together, I realized I needed to step my game up because he was one badass vato. I just allowed myself to get a little insecure about him. So I tested myself. We brought it up. And it was the winner of the outcome. This guy right here. That's why I'm New Mexico Tag Team Champion. 1/2 of them. Because I'm badass. My barrio. Just like this area, I make it into my barrio. Anywhere I step into, I make it into my barrio. My chante. It becomes mine.
Heck yeah.
Always.
Yeah, this is your podcast now, Hector. You got the lucky sock. Like, well, where'd you come up with the concept of the lucky sock?
So, living in the streets of Albuquerque, you know, you gotta have weapons, man. You gotta be able to defend yourself regardless of anything. People always see a knife. People always see guns. But ain't nobody. You gotta think smart. You gotta think prison-wise, eh? You gotta think like a true cholo, like a true vato. In prison, what do? They have a sock full of soap, eh? And they beat the living shit out of you. You know how hard a ball of soap hurts? It hurts hard. It really does, man. One swing at that, bam, off on the floor. That's it. No more. So that's where the lucky prison sock came from. Because no matter where I go, the luck that gives me, it's like my rabbit paw, but it's my prison sock.
So in that match, there's a sock hanging up at the top, and he's the one that ends up grabbing that, and you brought your own secret sock to
Yes, sir.
defend yourself with.
So nobody was able to use the sock until that sock was taken off of the pole. It's the only way you can use it. So the second that I knew that sock came down, any sock was legal, fool. Any sock. So Hector thought smart. Candy was playing checkers while I was playing chess. When that sock came flying down, I knew exactly what I needed to do. And I did exactly what I said I was going to do.
Nice. Okay. And you said how many how many tag team wrestling matches have you had with Pedro before?
So far, we're at 4.
Okay.
We're at 4 tag team. Our first one that we did together was in Mexico. Was when we won the New Mexico State Tag Team Championships. That's when I knew, okay, well, if we could win gold together, we could defend gold together. We can defend the barrio together. And so far, we've proven that we can. The last one that we faced was Necro Butcher and Hobo Man. And they, just like everybody else, learned exactly why we are the true vatos that we say we are.
And tell me a little bit more about Necro Butcher.
Necro Butcher, he's a legend. He's wrestled all over. He's wrestled in Japan. He's wrestled all over the world. He's known as a deathmatch wrestler because that man can do things to you that you can only dream of. Not even dream of, that you can have nightmares of. I had nightmares after my match with him. He hit so hard, I had handprints bigger than my own hand on my chest all over. He's crazy. He's been in bar matches. He's been in fights left and right. The man is just a true legend when it comes to our business. When it comes to the business of deathmatch wrestling, the name Necro Butcher will always be talked about in deathmatch wrestling. And I give respect to the man where the respect is due. because he has paved the way for vatos like me to prove what we can do, even if it's not as hardcore as that man is. So Necro, shout out to you, man. Always 100% vato.
One thing I've noticed about you, Hector, you take this whole wrestling thing very seriously. So a lot of people sometimes will, kind of comment on how wrestling is like fake or things
Vato,
like that.
okay, we're gonna stop right there. We don't use the word fake in front of me, okay? Because what we do, there's nothing fake about it, man. There's nothing fake. We take bumps, we take bruises. You see the scar on my head. I'll show you the pictures of me just gushing blood after my matches. So I don't ever want to hear you say fake again, bro. Okay?
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely.
Next question. Actually, you know what? Let's go. I'm about running out of time here, man. I know you got another person that you need to get in here that's more important than this SM though. But let's go. Let's start.
No, he's running late. I'm sorry he's not here yet. I wish he was here right now. But so Hector, you grew up in Albuquerque? You said, and would you have a rough family life growing up?
Rough family life. I don't even know who my father was. I don't even know who my mother was. I was running the streets about 5 years old.
Really?
About 5 years old. I made my own family. You talk about Ohana. There's no such thing as Ohana. You make your own family. I guess, yeah.
Nice.
About 5 years.
So at 5 years old, you were already gang affiliated and running the streets of Albuquerque, huh?
Running the streets of Albuquerque, running the streets of Mount Air, running the streets of Las Lunas. Anywhere I go, I run those streets full.
Dang.
Anywhere.
Wow. Yeah, 5 years old is quite a young age for somebody to start running things like that. You must have been a scrapper since birth then, huh?
Scrapper since birth. Since I came out, I was fighting. Second I came out, I was already swinging chigazos and everything. And I'll be swinging chigazos until I die.
Dang, okay.
The end. But that's it, bro. I'm done with this podcast.
Oh,
I appreciate your time,
he's
man.
gonna be here soon, right?
No, we're good, bro. I don't want to see nobody else. I appreciate the time, bro. But next time, schedule me by myself, okay?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
sir.
you, man.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Manny, what's up, dude?
Adam, how's it going, my guy?
Dude, it's going good, man.
It's nice to see you, man. Somebody just left a little pissed off. You look kind of familiar. Who'd you have?
Yeah, I had Hector G Rodriguez here.
Ooh.
And I was supposed to do a podcast with both you guys, but unfortunately he kind of
I'm
stormed
kind of
out.
glad that I missed out. Me and Hector, we don't have good beef, so it's kind of good we didn't cross paths. Kind of glad you didn't realize who I was. Right here?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Cool,
go ahead and
perfect,
sit
man.
down, man.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me, Adam. It's an honor, sir.
Dude,
Huge
thank you
honor.
for coming, bro. It's an honor to have you, man.
It's been a long time, man. Haven't seen you in a while.
I know, dude. Me and you have a little bit of lore together, I guess.
Dude,
Starting back at Planet Fitness. And
Nice little history between us, man. Very nice history, man.
heck yeah, man. So first things first, I have to ask is just how'd you get into wrestling, man?
Well, let's see here. Wrestling, as far back as I can remember, I've been a fan of wrestling since I was 5, 6, maybe even 4 years old, honestly. I could not tell you the exact age when I started watching wrestling, but it's been part of my family for a very, very long time. My grandfather watched it with me. That's kind of the earliest memory I have is watching wrestling with my grandfather. Also, back in the day with my older brothers, they were huge wrestling fans. I mean, you have pictures of them wearing the NWO shirts. They were more WCW fans than WWE fans. For a lot of you who don't know, back in the day there was two wrestling promotions: WWE, WCW, Monday Night Wars, big thing back in the 90s. But they were fans of it, so it kind of just was in my family. I've always loved it as a little kid. It was one of my safest places when the world was crazy, when life was a little too hectic. You know, I could just turn on wrestling and my life would be normal for the 2-3 hours that I was watching.
Nice. Okay, so it's kind of in some ways an escape, I guess.
Very much so. Very therapeutic. It was my therapy, man. My therapy through all the rough parts of my life, foster care, all that stuff. Like, no matter what, I could turn on wrestling and I know everything will be okay.
Yeah, heck yeah. So this is interesting, man. Like, I used to not be very into wrestling until I met you, actually. So like I used to think like wrestling's a little bit of played out, a little fake kind of thing, and I couldn't find the appreciation for it until I met you, and you kind of started to explain things a little bit to me, kind of see it more as an art form than and as a performance, and then I went and watched you for the first time, and I kind of fell in love with it, man. It's like so cool.
That's awesome, man. First things first, the word's fake. Not a word that we really like to use. It's just one of those things to where, yeah, a lot of people kind of know the background of what wrestling is now. But the fact that you more appreciate it now, understanding that it's an art form, knowing that it's something that can be beautifully done when done correctly. A lot of people take wrestling as just this, made up kind of thing when it's not. It's something beautiful. It's this great thing that can just elaborate and just transform to something fantastic. You said about my first match you watched my first one. That was honestly a real honor for all of you, for me to have you guys there, because that was my debut match. That was the first time that I got to wrestle in front of a live crowd, the first time that I ever stepped into wrestling and had my first match. So having you guys there, having all my friends, family, it was an honor, man. It was such an honor to have you guys there to watch me live my childhood dream. So I appreciate you for that, man. Really much so.
So was it ever since you were young, like at the 4 years old watching wrestling, did you like immediately then think, I want to do this someday?
Exactly. Yep. From the moment that I watched it, ever since I was a little kid, I've always just wanted to be a professional wrestler. It was something that I thought was very beyond my reach, especially as a young kid in the way that I grew up. Because I grew up in a household where it was like, you had to work a 9-to-5 job. You got to do this. You got to bust your ass. There's no such thing as dreams. Yeah, you can try, but the 9 times out of 10, you're gonna fail. It wasn't until I got into foster care was when I got placed with the family, who's now my adopted dad, Dennis. Happy Father's Day, by the way, to all the fathers out there.
Yeah, definitely.
He's the one who kind of really made me realize that you can do what you want to do. If this is really what you do, let's find a way to get it and pursue it. So as a little kid, it was always constantly when I was with him, watching wrestling, explaining storylines. We did martial arts. That's a big part of why you see me wearing a gi right now, is because I do have a history in martial arts. I did Kung Fu for 4 or 5 years. And to me, that was probably the closest thing that I would ever get to professional wrestling. So I ate it up as much as I possibly could. I did MMA for a couple of months. So I have a whole background in martial arts, but nothing filled that void like professional wrestling did. There was something different about wrestling compared to all the other art forms that I did. So in about 2018, I had the opportunity to step into wrestling ring for the first time. I got introduced to a group of guys in Albuquerque that were professional wrestlers. I was training with them for maybe about 3-4 months. Freshly out of high school, freshly had a new job. I was working at Domino's. I wanted to pursue my dreams, but at the same time, I also wanted to be a teen and live life. So I kind of allowed the party phase and enjoying life more to get in the way of what my dreams were. So at that point, I kind of thought, well, that's kind of it for me. Professional wrestling isn't something that's going to be in my horizon. I allowed people's voices in the back of my head to get in my mind and tell me, you can't do it. I had a history teacher, not an history teacher, an economics teacher. One of our assignments in school was write down what you want to be as you grow up, as a career, and create a path to get there. So before we were able to do the project, we had to submit him a rough draft. Mine was about professional wrestling. The man looked at me in my face and said, you need to pick something realistic. This will never happen. All because he didn't understand how to become a professional wrestler. This class, all they wanted was, I want to be a welder, I want to be a police officer, a teacher, blah, blah, blah. The simple, basic stuff that any kid will want to do, which is great. I've always wanted to be different things too. But deep down, I knew what I always wanted to be was a professional wrestler. So after that moment, I was like, okay, kind of shot down the idea, having a teacher tell you, it's not realistic. Teachers aren't supposed to do that. So that was in my head a lot, especially after I did my first session of training. Then I was like, man, maybe it's something that I can't do. Come 2020, I got introduced to a man that is now my brother. His name is Brandon Overholster. He is a professional wrestler himself. He has been wrestling in Ohio. He's had multiple promotions. He's won multiple championships. He's done so many things all around the U.S. when it became wrestling. He was in the PWI, which is Professional Wrestling Illustrated, top 500 wrestlers in both 2014 and 2015. Got introduced to him because he moved to Mountain Air, my hometown. It took me a little while to actually get introduced to him because I wasn't sure if I was ready to get back into the wrestling biz. I was watching it. I was like, maybe all it is just a fan. Maybe that's all that I'm going to go ahead and go and do. Got introduced with him, got to chat with him, and it lit that spark under me again. He was like, well, you know what? I just ordered me a 10-foot ring, which is probably the smallest ring you can ever train in. Small ring, let me just say. Got introduced to him, did my first class with him, couple of bumps, and that was it. I remembered why little Manny wanted to do this. I remember why he wanted to pursue this dream. I remember why he tried it out in 2018 to begin with. And from there, he didn't give up on me. I was in my head so much over so many little things. I didn't want to do it. I didn't believe in myself. Everybody's negative thoughts kept running through my head like, you can't do this. He didn't give up on me. He didn't say, you know what, if you can't do this, then get out of here. He was like, you need to just do it. Just try, he pushed me to do it, but he did it in a way that it was more helpful than anything else. It was more of like, if you really want to do this, then let's do this. Like, I'm giving you all the tools that you need. Now it's just up for you to use them. And well, here we are 5 years later, and we're still doing it. Yes, granted, we're not doing as much matches as we were doing about 2-3 years ago, but that's due to circumstances that I can't really talk about right now. But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So a lot of special thanks to him. Kind of went in a long little lore there, but yeah.
No, I like that. And actually, let's expand on that just a little bit. Like, so in 2018, you met these people. How were you introduced to them? I guess was it just pure chance?
Pure chance, pretty much. The opportunity. Somebody just mentioned the name. I looked them up on Facebook, sent them a message, and I was like, "Hey, I'm interested in becoming a professional wrestler. I was understandable that you teach." He was like, "Yeah, come on down, try a free class." So we did. I did. It was great. It was exciting. It was hard. I'll give you that much first. The first day of my training, I went in there thinking, oh yeah, okay, it's not going to be too rough, I got this, I could do that. I was blowing chunks within about 30 minutes.
Really?
I mean, the intensity, the drills, everything behind training to become a professional wrestler is probably one of the hardest things that you can think of doing. The cardio, the endurance, everything behind it. I mean, just getting in the ring on warm-up was having to hit the ropes about 3 minutes straight. And that's just running back and forth, bam, bam, bam.
Kind of like bouncing off the ropes.
Yeah, bouncing off the ropes, keeping our controls. And then rolls, having to do rolls. Now you're spinning constantly. That's probably what made me blow all those chunks in the beginning, was because it's my first time and I'm rolling around the ring. I'm doing front rolls, I'm doing back rolls, side rolls. So then about 30 minutes in, I was like, yeah, I'm just, okay, let's go out there and do it.
Yeah, I can imagine rolling around after doing a bunch of cardio.
Yeah, it wasn't the And then I probably wasn't, because I lived in Mountain Air, so it was an hour drive. So I was like, oh, well, I'll probably eat before I go from Mountain Air to Albuquerque. I've never, ever eaten again before I had training after that day. Until
Really?
after training was over. Because let's just say the food that I ate before training did not look as appealing coming out later on during the training session halfway through. It was bad. It was so bad. But I got introduced to them. I got to go help them set up. My first wrestling show that I got to see them do live was at, I believe, in May. Back in 2018, and it was for a taco festival that was done in Isleta, at the Isleta Amphitheater. Got to help them set up the ring. I got to help them plan the matches out, and I got to see them do the matches. Coolest thing in the world. It was after that right there was like, that was it. I was like, yes, I'm in for it. Life got in the way. Young, stupid Manny kind of was like, oh, let's do this instead of going to training. And it kind of slipped away from me from there. So I really thought that by 2019, that was kind of the end of my wrestling journey.
And like looking back on it, do you, I guess, regret not diving into it full blown then? Or is it kind of just like led into like, or is there any regret looking back on like choosing to party or do those things that you ended up doing instead? Or
at the time, yeah. I was pretty upset about letting it go because, again, it was something that I wanted to do. But over time, I come to the realization that it happened for a reason, because if I would have continued the path that way, I'm not too sure if it would have continued on right now. Yeah. The fact that I got to meet Brandon later on in life, about 2 years later, and he's the one who brought this spark back. In all honesty, New Mexico wrestling was dead before Brandon came back and brought his promotion here. There wasn't a wrestling show in New Mexico in general for a minute until we hosted our first show in 2021, the one that you guys went to.
yeah,
That lit the fire in New Mexico wrestling again. It really did. Other people can say what they want. Other people can say, that's not true. Everybody has their own opinion about things. So because of that regret, it gave me the opportunity to grow and meet somebody who gave me more opportunities than I would have gotten back then. Former DWE World Heavyweight Champion. I currently hold the world record for the longest wrestling match in professional wrestling history of 24 hours straight. All these things wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the coach, the friend, the brother that I met of Brandon Overholster, American kickboxer. He's given me the tools. Like I said, he's the one who believed in me that I could do this. And so far, his belief in me has paid off to where I'm at right now with my success.
Let's expand on like how you met Brandon a little bit. Like what led you into meeting him?
So he moved to Mountain Air with his family. He originally came from, I believe, Ohio. He's been all around the U.S. Moved from the East Coast over here to New Mexico. Got a job at the school, and he kind of got to meet my dad. First off, meeting off with my dad. And then from there, he was like, yeah, professional wrestling. And my dad was like, well, you're going to have to meet my son because he's a big wrestling fan. He kind of did train a little bit back in the day. And Brandon moved in the idea of hoping he'll find a student, hoping he'll find somebody who loves wrestling to start his own wrestling school, which he did start. I was his only student. He's always said that if I am his only student, it was probably one of the greatest students that he could have met. But I got to meet him. The first time that I met him, we were working for a Halloween haunted house. We were setting up a Halloween haunted house. And that's when I first got to chat with him. And he was like, hey, I'm actually going to be going out of town. Would you be able to pick me up from the airport when I come back? I was like, yeah, of course, no problem. And from there is when we really got to talking. A drive from Albuquerque to Mountain Air is about an hour and a half long. So it's a lot of time to get to know somebody and chat. So we got to kind of know about each other, figure out where our wrestling aspects came from, where the love came from, and understanding why we both kind of grew up in the professional wrestling love that we did. So from there on, he was like, well, I'm looking to get my ring. I would love for you to come and try a couple roles, come do some training with me. And from there, the rest is history. He's been one of my greatest friends in this whole journey. Again, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have the accolades that I have right now as Manny Lee.
And was the ring that he had that you guys would practice at, was that in Mountain Air?
It was in Mountain Air, yes. It started off in his backyard.
Dude, nice. Okay.
In his backyard, I can send you some pictures over my first day of training, all the way up into my current days of right now. Complete difference. People kind of are like, oh, how can you train in a small 10-foot ring? Because the ring itself is 10 feet, 10 by 10. Mm. However, it goes inside a little bit more, so you're really only working with about 8 feet of space.
Wow.
If you can't wrestle in a 10-foot ring, you have no business being in a professional 20-foot ring or 18-foot ring that the professionals use, like WWE, AEW. You have no reason to be in there. It's all about ring control. So if you can't be ring control in a small ring, you have no business being in a big one. That's just my philosophy.
Huh, okay, yeah. So you have to be able to put on a good show in that small ring if you want to be able to put on a big show and a good show in the big ring kind of thing. Exactly. That makes a lot of sense to me. And the rings, the floor on these rings, like I've seen you wrestle, man, and you're like smacking this floor, getting thrown into it, people jumping on top of you. It doesn't sound like you can hear the sound of the floor when you guys hit it. It doesn't sound soft.
No, it's not soft, man. I'm telling you, the padding that we have is maybe about that thick.
Okay.
The rest of it is just wood and metal. That's all it is, wood and metal. I've taken some pretty gnarly bumps on the ring. I have a history of shoulder problems. I've dislocated my shoulder 4 different times because of wrestling. The first time I dislocated my shoulder was doing some training. It popped right out. First time ever, I was kind of like, oh, okay, it wasn't too bad. I looked at it. The guys I was training with looked at my arm and they're like, yeah, we need to take you to the ER. Because, the bone was out in here. It was disgusting. It was bad. Second time I dislocated it was about a week after my first dislocation. Thinking, oh, it's just a dislocation. It's nothing major. Went to go and make my bed. Plop. It popped just right out after that. I was like, dang, no. The third time was because of a match. I took a bump. Felt it pop right out. I was like, oh, gosh, okay. So I ended up trying to get it back in. Couldn't get it back in. And, yeah. The last dislocation was probably the gnarliest one to where I had to require shoulder surgery for it.
Really?
So I did have to get surgery. And that's where people are like, oh, it's not, it's stage. Yes, it is. It's all that. But it's legitimate. You can legit get hurt from it. I'm a living example of it. It's popped my shoulder out 3 times to where I had to get shoulder surgery for it. Luckily now it's been in. It's not coming out anytime soon. Better not anyways. And yeah, that's just the price we pay when it comes to professional wrestling. You're going to get your fair share of bumps and bruises. And sometimes more than that.
Yeah. And that concept of like you said, like people will say it's fake and things like that. That's interesting because like that's kind of the thing that I used to think was like this isn't real fighting. But at the same time, now watching you do it, it's one of those things where it may not be real fighting in the sense that you guys have this genuine malice towards each other, or genuine dislike towards each other, but the physical nature of it still exists like heavily. And
Very much so. I mean, yeah, the ultimate goal is to take care of your opponent. That is that's the ultimate thing for it. You're
kind of the etiquette of it all.
Exactly. I mean, for me, I've always had etiquette when it came to anything, especially for martial arts. In the beginning of any demonstration or any martial arts thing that we would do, we would always do salute to each other. And the salute means I trust you with my body, you trust me with my body. I incorporated that into Manny Lee. And you see in some of my wrestling and some of my entrances, I'm saluting the crowd. I'm saluting my opponent. Even though I'm facing them, even though we're about to throw hands, I'm saluting them. It's because, I have my respect for you. You have the respect for me. And that's what Manny Lee is all about. Manny Lee is all about respect. He's all about understanding. He's always about bringing in everybody. But you don't want to mess with him. Because if he does have to get rough, it can happen. But at the end of the day, it's all about peace and it's all about love. That's who Manny Lee is.
And then just to elaborate a little bit for the people watching right now, so Manny, he's been a fan of wrestling for so long, and he's come up with a character named Manny Lee, who's kind of similar to yourself. Does that sound right? Right?
Very much so. I mean, if you look into Manny Lee is Manny. The background of the character is because of my martial arts background, but everything else behind him, the respect, the loyalty, it's who I really am. There isn't a fine line between who Manny Lee and Manny Lee is. They're pretty much the exact same person.
Okay, and in that respect, like that you have for your opponents, for example, that seems like it plays into almost this hero type of persona that, and all, I mean, as you are as well as in real life as well, but like that hero persona that Manny Lee has. What made you decide to go that route with it? Because not all wrestling personas are like that. Like a lot of them are heels, like you had told me about.
Yeah.
A lot of them are villains. A lot of them are. Some of them are even heroes, but like overly cocky and overly annoying. Manny Lee was almost like a blend of like the hero that you actually would like, sort of thing. Whenever you watch him.
Yes, pretty much. The whole character lore, the background of him is what you see in the ring is what you're going to get of the person outside of the ring. My respect for my opponents are going to be the same as my respect for my friends, respect for my colleagues, respect for the people backstage. What people don't understand is that it takes a lot to do a wrestling show. It's not just the wrestlers, It's the backstage people. It's the ones who's setting up the rings. It's the one who's doing the camera work. It's the one who's doing the lighting, the promoter, the referee. It's this one gigantic thing that makes it all makes it all work the way it does. And those people deserve just as much respect as myself. I am putting my body on the line, entertaining the crowd. They're the ones giving me the opportunity to put my body on the line to entertain the crowd. They're the ones setting up the rings, They're the ones doing the light work, doing the music, doing the production. So it's a whole area of honor, a whole area of respect, and just total understanding of where everybody's coming from.
And what do you put inside your mind before you go into an event like this? Are you thinking to yourself, like, I want to go put on the best show possible for everybody that's there watching? Is it like that, or is it kind of more just like I got to get full blown into this persona and like try to make this fight, exciting? I guess.
Yeah. Honestly, so like going into a match, I am with nerves. It's always been said that the day you don't have butterflies or nerves for a match is the day you lost the love for professional wrestling. Because you lost something you have the nerves for, you're gonna be nervous. So every time I'm back there, I'm doing my stretches, I'm doing my warm ups. As the card's going down, if I'm not in the opening match, I'm usually between the first to the intermission. So I'm getting ready, I'm doing my warm ups, I have my headphones in, and I'm just getting into focus. Because for me, if I start having any doubt in my mind, if I start questioning my abilities, is when I start questioning who I really am in the ring. It's when I start messing up. It's when I start getting hurt, So throughout that whole time, from when I get to the arena to when I walk out the curtain, it's all about focus. It's all about getting in the mindset. And then getting out there, it's just entertaining the crowd. For me, if I can get that crowd behind me, great. If they want to boo me, well, then let them boo me. I'll make them boo me. I'll make it the best boos that they could possibly have. It's always said that whether it's cheers or boos, any reaction is great. If you get no reaction, You kind of want to look and see
Yes.
what you're doing and maybe reevaluate, kind of readjust what you're doing when it comes to that. Because getting no reaction, that may not be the best thing in the world for you, especially professional wrestling.
That was one of the coolest things that I learned and kind of grew to appreciate a lot from watching you wrestle the very first time, was that concept that, like, yeah, it's just the crowd engagement. That's the most important thing. Like, there's a little young girl there at the first wrestling match that I watched you at, and she was like, you know, getting real into it. She was like, "I kill him," or something like that, you know. Like, and I was thinking to myself, like, "Whoa, this like this is crazy." Having a little
Invested
tiny
into
girl, like, you know, like chanting "kill him" or whatever, you know. That, like, so in wrestling, is it just dictated like how the performance is going to go based off the crowd? Like, do you guys try to make it to where who is getting the most engagement wins, or is there some sort of pre-planned winner, or is it kind of just based off of a spur of the moment, how the crowd's feeling type of thing?
It's whoever the better man is at that time.
Okay.
Whoever the better man is. Whoever can pick up that win, whoever can get the submission, whoever can get that first pinfall is the man who wins it all. Listen to the crowd. The crowd will tell you who they like. The crowd will tell you who they don't like. But at the end of the day, first man to get that victory is the one who always is the winner.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. Yeah. And so you never know. All right, so that's where the footage cuts off. Unfortunately, I made the rookie mistake of filming that second part with Manny Lee in slow motion, and I ran out of space on my phone, so most of it was lost. I'm genuinely sorry for that, but I didn't want to scrap the whole thing because what we did capture was too good not to share. Manny and I will definitely link up in the near future to film a part 2 and hit all the topics that we lost due to my mistake. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.